7 miles above the Gulf of Thailand, 239 people are about to vanish from the face of the earth, and you are going to witness exactly how it happened. It is 12:38 a.m. on March 8, 2014. Around you, because at this moment you are inside this aircraft, the cabin of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is a sanctuary of half-light and silence. 227 passengers drift into sleep, lulled by absolute trust in the Boeing 777-200ER. This machine is considered one of the safest ever built. Every system has a backup. Every backup has another backup. If one heart fails, another is already beating to replace it. In the cockpit, everything is routine, professional, sterile. No warning lights, no turbulence, no sign of what lies 41 minutes ahead. 1:19 a.m. The aircraft approaches the invisible boundary of Malaysian airspace. A calm voice, trained by 18,000 flight hours, delivers the last words ever heard from the flight. "Good night, Malaysian 370. 10 seconds of silence. 20. 30. The aircraft should now contact Vietnamese air traffic control. But it doesn't. It does not crash. It does not explode. It sends no distress signal. Instead, it performs something far more disturbing, a digital suicide. Systematic, deliberate, impossible to happen by accident. MH370, the interval that should not exist when an event refused to close. This is what we know for certain. Between 1:21 a.m. and 1:50 a.m., military radar reports that the aircraft climbs to 43,000 feet, well above normal cruising altitude, then descends to 23,000 feet, then climbs again. These are not the movements of an aircraft on autopilot. These are maneuvers. At 2:22 a.m., military radar detects the aircraft crossing Malaysia's west coast and entering the Strait of Malacca. At 2:40 a.m., radar contact is lost permanently. The last known position, 6 degrees, 50 minutes north, 95 degrees, 50 minutes east, 370 kilometers northwest of Penang, over open ocean, flying away from any logical destination. But the aircraft did not disappear completely, because there was a silent witness no one noticed at first. A satellite, Inmarsat 3F1, orbiting 22,300 miles above the Indian Ocean. Every modern Boeing 777 is equipped with a system called ACARS, Aircraft Communications, Addressing and Reporting System. It's essentially a computer that talks to satellites. It automatically sends technical data from the aircraft, engine performance, fuel consumption, system status, and every hour, even when not transmitting data, the system sends a ping, a digital handshake, a "Hey, I'm still here." Between 2:25 a.m. and 8:19 a.m., the Inmarsat satellite received 7 pings from MH370. 7 signals that the aircraft was still flying, still powered, still airborne. Now, these pings don't provide GPS location, but they provide something called BTO and BFO, burst time offset and burst frequency offset. Using the physics of these signals, scientists were able to calculate how far the aircraft was from the satellite and the direction it was moving. The result? Arcs. Each ping creates an arc of possible locations, a northern corridor and a southern corridor. The northern corridor passes over countries with sophisticated military radar: India, Pakistan, Kazakhstan. If the aircraft had gone north, someone would have seen it, but no one did, which means MH370 flew south, into the Indian Ocean, into one of the most remote and deepest regions on Earth. The final ping was received at 8:19 a.m., 7 hours after the last voice communication. Based on the Boeing 777's fuel capacity and the amount loaded in Kuala Lumpur, the aircraft would have run out of fuel around 8:20 a.m. When a Boeing 777 runs out of fuel at 35,000 feet, it does not fall like a stone. It glides. Descent rate, approximately 2,000 to 2,500 feet per minute. Glide distance, up to 100 nautical miles. Time to impact, approximately 15 minutes. At around 8:35 a.m., dead as the sun rose over the Indian Ocean, Flight MH370 would have struck the water and vanished. When the news broke, the world stopped. CNN, Malaysia Airlines plane disappears with 239 on board. BBC, mystery in the skies, where is MH370? At Beijing Capital International Airport, families waited and waited and waited until they were taken into a separate room and told the aircraft had disappeared. Not crashed, not landed, disappeared. The largest search and rescue operation in aviation history began immediately. Initially, the search focused on the South China Sea, where everyone believed the aircraft had crashed. 26 countries contributed resources, 42 ships, 39 aircraft. Days turned into weeks, nothing, until military radar data was finally reviewed and the world realized we were searching in the wrong place. The search shifted to the Indian Ocean, an area of 60,000 square kilometers, waters up to 4,000 meters deep, some of the most treacherous on Earth. Result, nothing, until July 2015. On Réunion Island, a French territory in the Indian Ocean, 1,600 kilometers off the African coast, a man walking along the beach found something. A flaperon, a wing component, serial number 657BB. French investigators confirmed it belonged to MH370, without doubt. Definitive proof the aircraft crashed into the ocean. All found along the east coast of Africa and islands of the Indian Ocean, exactly where ocean current models predicted, if the aircraft had gone down in the southern corridor. In January 2017, the official search was suspended. Despite all efforts, the location of the aircraft cannot be determined with certainty. Families protested, demanded the search continue. Private companies stepped in. Ocean Infinity offered to continue the search with no upfront cost. In January 2018, they returned. 90 days of searching, 112,000 square kilometers scanned. Nothing. In May 2018, the search was terminated again, this time permanently. In July 2018, the Malaysian government released a 495-page final report. Official conclusion: the cause of the disappearance cannot be determined with certainty. Which brings us to the question no one can answer: what happened inside that cockpit? There are essentially three main theories, and each is disturbing in its own way. Theory 1, something went terribly wrong. An electrical fire, explosive decompression, oxygen system failure. In this scenario, the pilots detect an emergency. They shut off the transponder, perhaps attempting to isolate an electrical fire. They turn the aircraft back, attempting an emergency landing, but then the situation deteriorates. Smoke in the cockpit, loss of consciousness. The aircraft continues flying on autopilot, with everyone on board incapacitated or dead, until it runs out of fuel. It's called a ghost flight. It has happened before. Helios Airways Flight 522 in 2005 flew for hours with everyone unconscious due to hypoxia. But there are major problems with this theory for MH370. Systems were shut down sequentially, not simultaneously, as in a fire. The aircraft made complex maneuvers, not consistent with autopilot. No distress signal was sent, despite multiple communication options. The route followed navigational waypoints, pre-programmed by pilots. Most experts do not believe this theory. The evidence simply doesn't support it. Theory 2. Someone forcibly took control of the aircraft. Investigators examined all 227 passengers, histories, connections, motives. 2 Iranian men were on board using stolen passports. This generated immediate headlines. But investigations revealed they were refugees trying to reach Europe. No terrorist connections, no aviation training, no apparent motive. One by one, all passengers were ruled out. No suspicious backgrounds, no terrorist links, no reason to hijack an aircraft. The cargo was examined. 4 tons of mangoes, lithium batteries, various electronics, nothing explosive, nothing dangerous. More extreme theories emerged: remote hacking of the aircraft, military interference, experimental electronic warfare technology. Aviation security experts were clear: remotely hacking a Boeing 777 in flight, shutting down systems, and controlling it for hours was technically impossible with 2014 technology. Or if not impossible, it would require the resources of a nation-state, and no state claimed responsibility. No evidence emerged. And if it were terrorism, there would be a claim. If it were military action, wreckage would appear elsewhere. If it were sabotage, why fly for 7 hours before crashing? Which brings us to the third theory, the darkest one, and the one supported by the most evidence. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53 years old, married, 3 children, 18,000 flight hours. By all accounts, a normal man, passionate about aviation, built a flight simulator at home, active on online aviation forums. But when investigators dug deeper, they found troubling details. His home flight simulator. Malaysian investigators seized the hard drive and found something: simulated routes, deleted but recovered by forensic experts. One route showed a flight up through the Strait of Malacca, turning south, ending in the southern Indian Ocean with fuel exhaustion, nearly identical to MH370's actual path. Malaysia Airlines and the government argued, this proves nothing. Pilots simulate unusual routes all the time. And that is true. But there was more. Zahari was experiencing personal difficulties. His marriage was strained. He had recently separated from his wife. There were reports of depression. He was also a strong supporter of Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim. The day before the flight, March 7th, 2014, Anwar was sentenced to 5 years in prison in a controversial case. Some speculate this may have been a trigger. Then there is First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, 27 years old, inexperienced compared to Zahari. After 9/11, cockpits were fortified, reinforced doors, strict protocols, but those protocols protect against external threats, not internal ones. If one pilot leaves to use the restroom, the other is alone in the cockpit, with total control. Here is what investigators believe may have happened. 1:19 a.m. Final transmission. Good night, Malaysian 370. 2 minutes later, the aircraft reaches the airspace handoff point, the most vulnerable moment. One controller has just released you. The next has not yet taken control. There is a 5 to 10 minute window where no one is actively monitoring you. 1:21 a.m. The transponder is switched off, manually, deliberately. Minutes earlier, the ACARS system, the one that sends satellite data, was also disabled. You must access the electronic bay beneath the cockpit to do this. It is not accidental. The aircraft makes a programmed left turn, not an emergency maneuver, a navigational turn. Following waypoints, it flies back over the Malay Peninsula, passing directly over Penang, Zahari's hometown. Some believe it was a farewell. The altitude oscillations, climbing to 43,000 feet, descending to 23,000. 43,000 feet is above the safe limit for a Boeing 777. The air is so thin that passenger oxygen masks, automatically deployed during depressurization, provide oxygen for only 12 to 15 minutes. Enough time for a pilot to descend. Not enough if the pilot chooses not to. After 15 minutes at 43,000 feet, all passengers would be unconscious, dead within minutes. But the cockpit has its own oxygen system, unlimited, as long as the pilot wears the mask. After crossing Malaysia, the aircraft turns south, toward nothing, toward the deepest ocean, toward oblivion. And it flies, and flies, and flies, for more than 6 hours, until sunrise, until fuel exhaustion, until final silence. Now, it is absolutely critical to say this. We do not know for certain. There is no suicide note, no cockpit voice recording, no confession. Zahari's family denies it vehemently. Friends say it was impossible. Fellow pilots say he loved flying, loved life. And they may be right. It could have been Farik. It could have been a combination of events we don't yet understand. It could be something we will never discover. But the balance of evidence, the methodical shutdown of systems, the simulated route on the home computer, the perfect timing to avoid detection, the flight over Penang, the deliberate journey into nowhere, points in one direction. And if it is true, 239 people were taken on a journey they never chose, by someone they trusted completely. Today, more than 10 years later, families still wait. Some have never accepted that their loved ones are gone. How could they? No bodies, no crash site, no closure, only absence. MH370 changed aviation forever. Today, all new commercial aircraft must have real-time satellite tracking, transponders with batteries that cannot be easily disabled, cockpit voice recorders with 25 hours of capacity, black box beacons with 90-day batteries. Losing an aircraft like MH370 today would not be impossible, but infinitely more difficult. And somewhere down there, 4,000 meters beneath the surface, in a tomb of absolute darkness and crushing pressure, rests MH370. With it, the black boxes, containing the answers, the final words, the last sounds, the final flight data. Everything we need to know the truth, waiting in the dark. 239 people, parents, children, artists, engineers, each with dreams, each missed by someone, each who never came home. On the night of March 8, 2014, they boarded an aircraft. They trusted a system, they trusted people, they trusted they would see the sunrise. What happened to flight MH370? Mechanical failure, hijacking, or the darkest act of all? We don't know. We may never know, but somewhere between the stars and the abyss, between the final good night and eternal silence, there is a truth, and 239 families deserve to know it. In memory of the 239 passengers and crew of flight MH370, March 8, 2014.